Welcome, everybody. This is a public meeting regarding housekeeping amendments to zoning bylaw 2000-57 as amended. We're going to call the meeting to order at 6:46 p.m. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Do any members of council wish to declare pecuniary interest in this application? Seeing none, should you notice a interest as we progress, please bring attention to it and file the paperwork, necessary paperwork with the clerk. This is a public meeting held in compliance with Section 34 of the Ontario Planning Act. The proposed amendments being considered this evening are in respect to various housekeeping amendments to zoning bylaw number 2000-57 as amended. The proposed amendments apply to all of Tay Township. All the people present tonight will be given an opportunity to ask questions for clarifications and provide comments on the proposed amendments. Tonight's meeting will allow council to hear from the township's planning staff and the public on the proposed amendments. Once the public meeting is closed, the township council will reconvene to its regular council session. This portion of the meeting is open to the public. However, no further opportunity for public comment will be provided on tonight's application. The proposed amendments before us tonight will be voted on at an upcoming council meeting after a staff recommendation report is prepared and presented to council. If you wish to receive notice of passing of the proposed housekeeping bylaw amendments with respect to the proposed, you should leave your name, address, and email address with the Township Planning Department. This can be done by emailing the Planning Department at planning@tay.ca or by calling 705-534-7248, extension 220. Would the manager of planning please describe the proposed amendments? Mr. Weatherall, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. As Chair said, this is a public meeting required under the Planning Act. This is for housekeeping to our zoning bylaw 2000-57. It provides the opportunity for residents to provide written comments and provide oral comments on the proposed amendments. The purpose of the housekeeping is to address some of the formatting, interpretation, and technical issues that have been identified through the day-to-day use of the bylaw. The following identifies the major changes that will occur to the zoning bylaw and identifies the new standards or provisions proposed. The purpose of the proposed housekeeping amendments are to seek simplify wording and clarify the intent of ambiguous provisions and purposes. So some of the sections that we'll be looking at tonight are inspections, definitions, general provisions, parking and loading requirements, shoreline residential zone, as well as the limited service residential, and we do have 3 mapping changes proposed. The first one, which is the inspection section under 2.6, it's basically looking at changing the proposed amendment to allowing the manager of planning and development services or any officer designated to council to enforce the provisions of the bylaw, just to keep it more in line with the Planning Act. Our bylaw is, again, a few years old, so we're just trying to keep up with the times. This next one is we're looking at adding a definition for floating accommodations. As you are aware, there's some floating accommodations in adjacent municipalities. Our bylaw does not speak to them, so we're looking at adding a definition to identify those. It's a fairly long definition. I'm not going to read it word for word, but I believe you've all seen the floating accommodation types that are typical sea containers on pontoons that are float or push. So the definition is there for your reading at your pleasure. So we're looking to add that into the bylaw. We do not define high water mark. The zoning bylaw does identify a setback from a high water mark currently, which is 15 meters, but we don't actually define a high water mark. So we're just looking at clarifying that, which is the 178 geological survey from Canada datum. So it just aligns with the setback from the water body of Georgian Bay. Again, we do have a definition for hobby farm, but we're looking at kind of amending it to make it a little more simpler. We don't have the capacity to go out and measure animals, their weight of animals, so we're actually looking at just identifying the number of units for a hobby farm. So nothing major there, just trying to make it simpler for residents as well as planning staff. No section, so under general provisions, we have no accessory building in a residential zone. Currently, we define that no Nizan hut or Quonset hut or semicircular roof shape can't be permitted in a residential zone. We're just looking at actually adding the residential zones by identifying which zones those are. So the R1, R2, R2S, R3, SR, LSR, and RMH, and RTP zones. So those still won't be permitted in those zones, but we just wanted to clarify and make sure the specific zones are identified, that they're not allowed. Maximum lot coverage, there is a bit of a discrepancy on now, so when we have a residential property, some of the lots are allowed a 35%, which is for your house. Doesn't really define for accessory structures. We do allow for 10%, so we just want to put a clause in that the 10% is separate from the maximum allowable for a house. So if you have a lot, you'd be allowed the 35% for your dwelling unit, and then an additional 10% for accessory structures. Detached accessory buildings, we amended this last time because it used to be 10 meters squared. We've changed that to 15 meters squared, but the original bylaw doesn't allow them in the front yard. So we looked at adding the provision that we do now allow them in the front yard as long as it meets the minimum front yard setback. So in a residential zone, that would typically be 7.5 meters or 24.6 feet. So we've seen some properties, especially waterfront properties, that obviously they want them on the opposite side of the water. So this provision would allow for that, as well as residential areas having a small shed in the front yard. Boathouse, boat pumps, and boat docks. Last housekeeping amendment in 2024, we did provide setback provisions, but now we're taking it a step further, basically to say that the property lines will project out into the bay to maintain a straight line provisions, because sometimes docks can encroach on an angle, so we just want to project those property lines out. So the standard would still be the 2 meters from the projected property line, and not allow it from at the shoreline to encroach closer to the property line out into the water. Section 430, use of vacant lands. Basically, we don't allow anything to be permitted on vacant lands, but we just want to add that human habitation, including tent camping, is prohibited. Just to kind of make sure that doesn't happen in our township. So we're just going to add that little amendment to that existing bylaw. Accessory dwellings units, we put these in play a couple years ago, but the one section that says permitted in a detached dwelling, where it actually should say permitted in a detached accessory structure. So just some minor wording, just changing up detached to detached accessory structure. Section 4.2.2a, additional dwelling unit contained within an accessory structure shall be on a permanent structure. We're just going to remove that section because it doesn't make any sense when we did the bylaw. Typically, if it's an apartment or accessory structure unit inside of a house, it's going to be on a permanent foundation. So we're just going to take that section right out of it. 4.5.3, which is lots on islands. As you can tell from our bylaw, it's fairly old. It says approval from an appropriate agency is obtained by sewage disposal system. So that was our old approval authority, was the Ministry of Environment. Our building department now looks after sewage disposal systems, so we can completely take it right out of our zoning bylaw, and it'll be governed under the Ontario Building Code. And same as 4.17, occupancy of partially completed dwellings. Again, we're going to completely remove this section, as the chief building official has the authority for the for occupancy of building permits and dwellings. And the last one of the last sections is floating accommodations. We're just going to add a section just basically saying floating accommodations are prohibited in any zone or adjacent to a zone, and no person shall use a boathouse, barge, marina, vessel, floating structure for a dwelling unit in any zone. And next one is, so this proposal was to, a few years ago, we changed the maximum height of dwelling units from 11 meters to 9 meters in some zones. At that time, we didn't do the shoreline residential zone or the limited service residential zone. Planning staff's recommending that it goes down to 9 to maintain a lower profile, allows the backlot residents that maybe a view of the bay. It actually stops from very large dwellings to dominate adjacent neighbors, because 11 meters is 36 feet, which is basically, depending on the slope of the property, can pretty much be 3.5 stories in height. So if you're on a 50-foot lot, that can be pretty dominant as a house beside you guys, beside the person. So we're looking at changing that. And now our mapping changes. So this is on Gervais Road. For some reason, they have the southern corner zoned open space. I looked back in the original zoning bylaw, 1767, and at that time, it was zoned rural. So when they did the bylaw in 2000, they added the open space zone. It is clear, there's nothing there, there's no water feature, they've been using it as a lawn, so the request is to remove that open space and just make it rural. The EP zone will still stay there because there is a water course there, but it's just to amend that little section of open space to rural on this property. And the next two, this one is on Old Fort Road, so this is a industrial zone. The permitted use is only allowed on this property is an existing salvage yard. This property has not used a salvage yard in many, many years. It's planning staff's recommendation that we remove salvage yards as a use on this property. I don't think it's necessary that we permit a salvage yard on the property. He does run industrial uses out of that property, but not a salvage yard. And you may be familiar with this one. This is 1630 Old Court Road, which is the sewage haulage property for Pepe. For some reason, there is a small portion of the property that again has an industrial zone that only allows a salvage yard. This property adjacent to it where the M14 is a salvage yard, but for this property has never been a salvage yard. It's always been an agricultural or rural zone. So we're looking at just removing the permissions for a salvage yard on this property so he can proceed with what he wants to do and not have a salvage yard. That is all for our amendments this time. Staff will continue to receive and consider comments from the public, agencies, or department staff, and we'll prepare a report for council's committee of the whole next available meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Weatherall. Would anyone from the audience like to speak to the application presented to us tonight? I ask that you give your full name and address as required for the record when speaking to the application, and direct your comments, questions, concerns through me as the chair. I will then ask staff or the applicant to respond. Any questions? Seeing none. Do any members of council have any questions concerning the information? Councillor LaChapelle, please.
Yes, through you to Mr. Weatherall. Under section, use of vacant lands, 4.30, Todd. I do like what's written, but how do we address, we talk about human habitation, including tent camping, prohibit on these vacant lots. What happens in somebody's front yard when you have the trailer or mobile long unit all hooked up? And where's that addressed? I was trying to find this. Is that not a concern, something to be looked at, or what?
Thank you. Through our chair to Member LaChapelle, we actually have that in another section. We do not allow trailers to be used to have human habitation. So that's under our parking requirements provisions, or, so.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Bumstead, please.
Thank you, through the chair. Mr. Weatherall, I'm looking at the hobby farm definition.
Okay.
Is there a more specific definition of what a hobby farm is? But when I read this, if I live down on Richard Street, I could have 5 livestock units.
Thank you. Through the chair to Member Bumstead, Councillor Bumstead. Yeah, there is a definition for hobby farm, and there's also zone requirements for hobby farm.
Okay.
They are typically, I believe, to have to be 5 acres in size
5 acres.
before you could have these.
Okay, but that is outlined prior to this
Yeah,
definition?
so under general provisions, so under the rural or the agricultural, you'd be permitted a hobby farm.
Okay.
Hobby farms are not permitted in residential areas.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bumstead. Any other members of council wish to comment or have a question? Seeing none. If there are no more questions on these amendments being proposed, I will now close this public meeting. You are invited to stay and listen to the council meeting. It is an open meeting, but no further opportunity for public comments will be provided on this application. I'll now call for an adjournment. I have a resolution to raise that this planning meeting adjourn at 7 p.m. Moved by Councillor LaChapelle, seconded by His Worship. All in favor? And that is carried. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you. Your Worship?
Thank you, Councilor Raymond. Welcome, everyone. You finished right on time. We're right on time for our regular council meeting. And I'll just go through a couple of housekeeping items before we get to our presentations tonight. So first of all, I'll call this regular council meeting to order. And I'd ask everyone present, those joining us on YouTube, to join council and staff in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you, everyone. Next, I have a motion for the approval of the agenda, a motion that reads that the council meeting agenda for July 22nd, 2026 be approved. And I have it moved by Councillor LaChapelle and Councillor Talbot. All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Disclosure of interest. Any declarations at this point? Seeing none, as we move through the agenda, should you recognize an interest, please state the general nature thereof and fill out the required paperwork with our clerk as soon as you're able to following this evening's meeting. That brings us to presentation and delegations, and we have a couple tonight, actually. 4 if you want to get technical. But first of all, tonight council is honored to recognize the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Legion. Founded in 1925 at the Unity Conference, the Legion began with a clear mission to support veterans, advocate for their rights, and ensure the act of remembrance continues. On July 17, 1926, the Legion was officially incorporated by a special act of Parliament, now recognized as their anniversary. Originally named the Canadian Legion of the British Empire Service League, it was later granted the Royal designation in 1961, becoming the Royal Canadian Legion. The organization has grown to over 270,000 members across more than 1,350 branches in Canada, with additional branches in the U.S. and Europe. Tay Township is fortunate to have 3 Legion branches, and since their respective inceptions, Tay Township and our residents have benefited in many, many ways over and above the initial mission outlined in their incorporation document. Tonight, Council, on behalf of the Township of Tay, are both pleased and honored to make a presentation to each of our 3 legions to mark this significant milestone with much gratitude and appreciation. So with that said, I could ask do you want to do one legion at a time? Okay, so we have Victoria Harbour and Port here. Is there anyone from Wabashin here? I'm not seeing anyone, so perhaps we'll start with Victoria Harbour, if you could come up. And President Bob, I just wondered if you could just sit at the microphone for a minute and introduce the members that you have with you tonight.
First, I got to see who's here. Okay, so my name is Bob Ladouceur, president of the Victoria Harbour Legion, branch number 523. We have with us tonight Dennis Esterbrooks, our first vice president. Right, Dennis, right here. Second vice president, Scott Williamson. We have our PRO chair, John Cole. We have my wife, Denise Ladouceur. She's a life member of the branch. She thought she'd come in and see what's going on. And Randy Rennie is our special projects chair, and his wife, Charlene, is here with us tonight, too. So that's the members of the Victoria Harbour Legion.
John, I can send you it. Yeah.
John, give it a break, John, give it a break. Be in the picture, don't worry about it.
Sure. No, you can't. That's probably where I would stand.
That might be okay, Barry. Let me see. Okay, everybody get nice and close together here. We're trying to get in between the. You can in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they might be okay, actually, Paul. It doesn't look terrible. So Judy, you're a little kind of shorter, so maybe just squeeze in a little bit more. Get a little more there, Judy. I love it. Okay, so Sylvia, closer. Yeah, perfect. Paul, yeah, perfect. And then Judy, why don't you tuck in beside Dennis there? Yep, perfect. And then Gerard, you look good. And then Barry looks. Okay, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. One more. Got it. Perfect. Watch your steps.
Okay, is this still on?
Yeah, that's still on.
So for the Port Nickel Legion, we have representing them Comrade Don Ward, who's the Veteran Service Officer for Port Nickel, and we have Connie Cameron, yes, Connie Cameron, who is the first Vice President at Port Nickel tonight.
Okay, let's squeeze in a little more. Yep. Sandy's getting the idea there. Okay, a little bit more, a little tighter. Yep, perfect. Paul, a little closer into Barry there. Yep, perfect. Judy, followed by. Yep, lovely. Okay, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. One more. Oh, I'm getting a laugh there. That's great.
And we'll make sure the Wabashine gets their certificate as well. I think they're planning a commemoration at some point, so we'll make sure that we get there to present it to them. So I just wanted to, again, thank each and every member of the Legion, past and present and future, for all you do for the community. I think the communities just wouldn't be the same without our Legions. And just know that the work you do is very, very much appreciated. And thank you for that. Now, you may want to stay and join us for another presentation. We have a young gentleman here tonight, Jacob Shaw, who is the winner of the Youth Heritage Contest Award. And Joel Rumney is in attendance to say a few words about the contest. And so is John Todd, the chair of the Heritage Committee. So Joel Joel, if you could approach the podium and say a few words, and then we'll do the presentations and a photo op.
On behalf of the Tay Heritage Committee, I'd like to thank Council for the opportunity to make this presentation. The Heritage Committee is made up of mostly elderly people. And by far the majority of them are very, very well versed on the history of, the rich history and heritage of this community. We saw the need for trying to educate the youth about the region they live in and the rich history. So we went to the schools and we made a presentation to both of the schools and the students to encourage them to produce make a project for us to judge. And there is already existing heritage fairs. I know the county has one in the spring, so if the students want to go on and take their presentation there, they could do that. Very similar to the science fairs. I must say, though, I was quite disappointed with the fact that the majority of teachers and principals had no idea of the rich history of this area. They had no idea that just down the road was one of the longest wooden trestles in North America, that the Port McNicoll elevator in its peak was the third largest in the world, or the Victoria Harbor lumber mills helped rebuild Chicago after the fires in the 1890s. So I was quite thrilled with Jacob's knowledge about his heritage, particular heritage, and his presentation involved two of his great-great-great-grandfathers. One was John Alexander Gillespie, and he was one of the early principals of the Victoria Harbor Public School here. And on the other side of his family was S. Reed and Sons Grocery Store, which was in operation on the main street here until it burnt until the 1960s. So both of those local dignitaries, I should say, were part of his heritage. So on behalf of the committee, I'd like to make a presentation to Jacob. And we have a plaque here for him, and somewhere in the building is a check for $100.
I have the check.
Good.
So if you want to come up front,
Sure. Sure. And our other committee members should be involved here, Councillor Bumstead and our new chairman, John Todd.
I'm vice chair, actually.
Perhaps Jacob would like to make a few words. Very well spoken on that.
The opportunity,
There you go.
and learn more about my heritage. Before I knew about it, I didn't know that much, and I really appreciate the opportunity to go deeper and learn more.
Well said, young man.
We got all of council?
Yes. Okay, we'll do one, John, fine.
Perfect, yep, and then we'll get all of council in. And one more. One more. And got it, perfect. Okay, yep, all of council.
I hate to admit that I remember Reed's story.
Barry?
Oh, yeah.
Gerard, perfect. Okay, squeeze in a little closer. There we go, there we go. Okay, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. One more. Got it, perfect. Thank you.
You remember
Hey, Jacob. Hey, John. Does Jacob want to get a picture with his family? Ted, come on up with the family and get a picture with Jason and Joel and John.
I asked Joel if there was a way that we could see the presentation, and he suggested maybe the board set it up in the lobby here for a while.
Okay, we'll talk to Andre about that, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, John and Joel, for coming out tonight, and Jacob and your family, thank you so much. And again, congratulations on, I think we're going to see if maybe the committee could post your presentation somewhere here in the office for a little while, so everybody could like to see, I'd like to see it for sure. With that said, we're going to move on with the rest of the council meeting. Everyone is certainly welcome to attend the rest of the meeting, but we understand if you have other items on your agenda. So thank you. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh. There you go. Okay. Nice, nice. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Bob. Okay, council. Consent list. Anyone have anything from the consent list that they wanted pulled for discussion? Not seeing anything. I have a motion that reads that the consent list for July 22nd, 2026, and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as resolutions of council, and I have that moved by Councillor Bumstead and Deputy Mayor Norris. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. That brings us to item 7.1. Our Manager of Planning and Development, removal of hold 466 Fifth Avenue. Mr. Weatherall, anything to add to the report?
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing to add, as you are aware that operations put water and sewer down Fifth Avenue last year, so no longer required to put septic systems in there. So this property is looking at tearing down the existing dwelling and building a new one. So they just need to remove the whole provision on the bylaw.
Okay. Council, any questions? I'm not seeing any. I have a motion that reads that item PDS 2026-026, dated July 22nd, 2026, regarding 466 Fifth Avenue be received, and that council approve the removal of the holding symbol for 466 Fifth Avenue, and that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration later in today's meeting. And I have that moved by Councillor Larmois and seconded by Councillor Raymond. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, our report from our treasurer, rebuilding and planning fee review. Very detailed report. And Ms. Carlson, would you like to speak to the report at all?
Thank you. Through the chair to council. So this report's coming to you based on a presentation by Andrew Mirabella from Hemson Consulting on May 27th, which outlined the findings of the building and planning fee review and what full cost recovery analysis would look like for those departments. Council then asked staff to come forward with a report regarding what to do with that study. So we then undertook consultation with Hampson Consulting again, taking into account council's, what council voiced in that meeting, which was full cost recovery would put Tay Township among the highest in Simcoe County. Council's concerns over the potential negative impacts the fee increases may have on growth and development, and council's desire to ensure that fees were comparable to surrounding municipalities. So this report is putting forward 4 options as far as building permit fees and 3 options relating to planning fees. These are the options that staff came up with. To guide council, there is no staff recommendation within this report. It's all subject to what council wants to massage or modify with these options. And then sort of coming out of this report, staff is looking for direction from council on the preferred option or options for the consultant to then move forward with the public consultation process, which is required under the building code. It's not required under the Planning Act, but staff and the consultant felt that for transparency purposes, both fees would be included in that public consultation process. So that's all I have. If there's any questions from council.
Okay. Council, any questions? Councillor LaChapelle?
Yeah, through the chair, Tammy. I guess I'm just having a little difficulty in the understanding of this. I find this is kind of overwhelming, the fact there's a lot of information, and to make a decision tonight, I'm going to have difficulty doing that. But I have one concern. Once again, I go way back. You know, we had building going on in Victoria Harbor and everywhere else. We didn't have the staff we did, and as we grew, the staff became bigger and more accountable because we wanted to make sure everything was done properly. Now here we are again, wanted to match what other municipalities do and talk about full recovery or whatever percentage. And we're having difficulty now building within our municipality with the sewage complication and all this. Really don't understand the need, again, to increase 80% to add to what's already a growing cost individually. I had this conversation with an individual. I know this may not relate to Tay Township, but when I hear people at the golf course spend $130,000 to build a house on a lot now, I just find that so extreme. You wonder where this is going to end or where it's going. I wouldn't want to be a young person today trying to survive. I know our costs are minimal, but they're still costs. And to go full recovery, I will have a hard time supporting that. I don't know what the rest of the members of council feel. But when does this stop? We keep adding and adding and adding and adding. We survived all these years without full recovery, and I guess today it's a different concern because who's paying for what, but I'm having difficulty with this, and I'm having difficulty with the report because it is very detailed and try to, grasp it. I've been reading it for 2 nights, and so I don't know where we're going to go tonight, but I'm not willing, for me just personally, to make a decision tonight. I just can't, but that's my concern. Like, when does this stop? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor LaChapelle. Any other comments? Councillor Raymond, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, I actually had to write them down because my mind was going all over the place on this. So, I had a meeting with Emmy already, Ms. Carlson, and thank you, Carson. Thank you. I appreciate the time. I met with our fire chief as the LT for that whole group. And I just wanted to clarify in my mind, how we got here and where we're going to go in that, okay? So I think full cost recovery is not sustainable. I think it's a nice theory, but I think that's all it is, because any attempt to achieve full cost recovery by increasing your fees will probably result in a net negative effect where future planning and developments are reduced below current levels. And if you do that, what do we do then? Do we increase again to keep compensating, or do we reduce staff? Do we cut our resources? You know what I mean? That's the first thing. Our current charge and fee are lower than neighborhood municipalities. Having this has not spurred much development, let's be honest. Perhaps this is due also, in fact, to we have the higher than comparable development charges for Tay. So this could be considered a bit of a concession to put us on more of an equal playing field overall, okay? And the comparative group. You know, I always wonder if we're doing ourselves justice by using just our North Simcoe neighbors as our comparative group. There are other municipalities throughout Ontario of, you know, similar demographics and population and taxes. And I always wonder if maybe we do ourselves a disservice by not at least referencing them to see what kind of impact and where we fit overall in Ontario. Also, if we were to take any kind of action, I will insist that we try and provide exceptions for the Grandview Beach Paradise Point project. Required due, in fact, that we delayed a lot of the property orders from building because of the lottery system. We can't turn around while they're ready, the ones that are in waiting, to go into the lottery system and start jacking up the rates behind them. I think it would be only fair that if we do anything with our charges, we at least maintain the current levels without any kind of increase on Grandview Beach, Paradise Point. My personal preference is to leave fees and charges as they are for now, and maybe take a look down the road after we start getting some increase in our planning and development business. If it was thought that we should bring in some CPI indexing, I think that would be something we could consider, because at least we would be just keeping up with the cost of living in the general area. And the other thing is implementation date. I don't believe that we should be rushing to anything with an implementation date of October 2026. I think we need at least a year, because we have a number of households that are getting their things in order to file for a building permit. They're buying materials. I know this for a fact. I would hate to turn around and just arbitrarily increase their fees right from under them when they have a 10%, 20%, 30% increase. So I would rather, if we are going to take any action, that we look at delaying it until some point in 2027. Because from what I understand, we don't even have to go down this road right now. We're not in a good position for planning and building, let's be honest. We're basically holding our own, give or take. And I think we're not in a position to play with that and make it worse, because that is what's going to happen. Money is tight, and it's going to get tighter. So until things change in our world economy, I think this is the wrong direction, and I mentioned that when it was first discussed. Anyway, thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Raymond. Councillor Larmont, please.
Thank you, through the chair. I also can't support a full cost recovery on this. I think that we have to remain competitive with other municipalities around us. There are a lot of people and builders who have been waiting for the to be able to apply for permits with the sewage system in Victoria Harbour, and it's just adds a lot to affordability in housing.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and maybe I can just ask for some clarification, because back in 2021, we did bump up the rates to our actual standard, which was basically full recovery. If I remember correctly, the downfall is since 2021, we did not keep up with times to reflect the actual total cost recovery.
Yes, that's correct. The rates were adjusted in 2021 when a review was performed by the CBO and the CAO of the day. Those rates have remained static since that time. And should they have been increased by CPI gradually every year since then, they would be very close to what you're looking at as the direct cost recovery rates on the schedules. So that is something to keep in mind, is that these rates have not changed since 2021.
So just more or less a supplemental. I'll support either benchmarking the basis or staff modified benchmarking, taking it over the next 4 to 5 years. That's how I see this coming in. We got to increase them. because it can't go back to the general public to support it. So that's my opinion.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Talbot, please.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, I also, Deputy Mayor, when, reading this and then rereading it and trying to sort it out, that was where I was leading to, was this benchmarking. I thought that would be at least something that we could do, right? But, yeah, I'm like most of council, I mean, with the economic times that we're in, and with Trump and his craziness, and, so it just, people don't have the coin anymore to do whatever. Most people don't have the coin to, feed their families and carry on and pay taxes, the taxes. A lot of people are in the arrears right now with the taxes in the township. So, I think it's anything that we can do to help, promote, people building, promote families to live easier would be where I would like to see, and if we have the ability to work with people, I think, to make it better. So anyway, just food for thought.
Councillor Raymond?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I forgot to mention too, this also impacts, let's not forget, we're not just talking new builds. We're also talking people who have lived in their houses and they want to do some improvements on their houses. So any direction we take as far as increases is going to impact them as well. So the hit will be Tate Township wide, not specific individuals. Thank you.
Okay, just a few things. Those same people are going to pay more money for the wood, right? They're going to pay more money for their paint. And why is that? Is those companies are trying to either maintain their profit or not have to go down too much. And we too have to keep that in mind as to what we're going to do to keep up with the costs. I think from our tax levy over the years has been very good. I think all of councils worked very hard and staff to keep that at a reasonable rate. So I think we've attacked that part of it. I don't agree with full cost recovery, but I have a suggestion with respect to the benchmarking and the CIP. We're very late in our term. There will be a new council in a couple, 3 months or so. I would suggest that this matter be brought to the new council with a suggestion that we do the benchmarking in the CPI commencing January 1st, 2027. That would be the implementation date just for the CIP and the benchmarking, which I don't think the benchmarking is a lot different than what we've got right now, right?
It's not on, let's say, a new home. The benchmarking is looking at about 20 cents per square foot.
Okay. So that's, and the other fees are fairly...
Yeah, it would be, I don't have a percentage, let's say, increase at hand, but they are moderate increases.
Councilor LaChapelle, you okay with that, or do you have another suggestion?
No, I was just gonna ask for the benchmark and to see if, I'd like to see what that value is, that's all. I mean, I do support that concept, but I'd like to see what the numbers work out to.
Okay, staff, could staff come back then to our next meeting with, here's the impact of that benchmarking to the current rates with a kick in CPI in January of 2027?
Yeah, we can do that. The detail of the benchmarking rates are within Schedule 2. A
Yeah.
sampling of them.
I think some are saying they're a little bit difficult to understand.
Little confusing.
Yeah. So if we could just come back with, here they are now, here's what they would be with the benchmarking in the CPI as of January 1st, 2027.
Yep, we can do that. Also to note, just that the building permit fee increases do require a public consultation, which there has to be 21 days notice of. So
Yeah.
it might be a tight turnaround for January 1st with a new council.
How do you mean? Sorry.
If you're waiting for the decision to be made by the new council, I don't know if we could have the new council review it and then have a public meeting for the rates to be enacted January 1st.
Okay, but what are we talking? November, halfway through November? New council starts?
November 15th.
November 13th?
15th.
November 15th? So 3 months, you're saying, Emmy?
I was saying from the time that the public meeting, we have to give 21 days notice to the public to hold the meeting before we can increase the fees.
But they could still make the decision, right? Say
Yes.
in December if they wanted to. They probably won't want to. They'll probably want to wait till January.
Yeah. Yes, they could.
If they made that decision in December, then there'd be a public meeting probably in January, and then there'd be 3 months before it kicked in. Is council okay with that? And we understand that the time frame might be a little bit wacky, and I think we're okay that if it gets delayed because of the notice and everything, that's fine. Can't go retroactive, right? No. Councilor LaChapelle, please.
So through the chair, do I get the impression then this group here will not have a say as we move forward, so anticipating and waiting for the new council? So I really don't need that information then if it's wait for the new council. I just thought maybe we were gonna do something in maybe, August, September. I like the idea.
Well, we can. That was just my suggestion. If council wants to get it
Just
here
what's
next
the best
month.
way, that's my thought, like, it's the best way. This council do it or wait for the new one. I'm capable of either one, but we're all familiar with it. We discuss it.
Okay, show of hands. How many would like this council to deal with it?
Go ahead, Mayor.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So if you could get that back to us and Emmy, Deputy Mayor?
So just for clarification moving forward, this will require a bylaw, correct?
Yes.
If we do become a lame duck, we won't be able to turn around past the bylaw anyway.
I don't think that impacts lame duck provisions.
No?
I don't believe it would.
It's not one of the
On
categories.
an expenditure.
So that
Under lame
stays
duck.
out of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm more for allowing the new council to decide.
No,
That's,
I think we've.
my hand was up to turn around.
Yeah.
Have clarification, not to vote on the
I
last
think there was
motion.
4 for the current council.
Yes.
So the current council will make a decision.
Mayor Walker,
Yes, Madam Clerk.
I do have a revised motion if you'd like me to read it based on,
Yes,
Your
please-
discussion?
Please go ahead and read it.
thank you. That item CS 2026-056 dated July 22nd, 2026 regarding the building and planning fee review be received and that staff report back to the following council meeting with forecasted benchmarking and CPI rates as of January 2027.
And I have that moved by Councillor Talbot and Councillor LaChapelle. Council, any questions? We're good to go? Okay. All approved. Carried. Okay. Then we have a report from our financial analyst, Asset Management Plan 2026 Annual Progress Report. Ms. Carlson, I guess you're going to speak to this?
Yes, so thank you. So this is the 2026 Asset Management Progress Report that puts us in compliance with OREG 588 for asset management.
Right. Any questions, Councilor LaChapelle? No? Everybody's good? Okay, I have a motion that reads that item CS 2026-054 dated July 22nd, 2026 regarding the Asset Management Plan 2026 Annual Progress Report be received, and I have that moved by Councilor Bumstead and seconded by Deputy Mayor Norris. All in favor? That is carried. excuse me, 7.4, Manager of Communications and Technology. Reed Township logo redevelopment, revised logo review and selection. Elizabeth, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mayor Walker. I'll just pull up the schedules here. Okay, thank you so much. So as discussed at the last council meeting, the council chose logo number 1 to go back to the graphic designer with the comments suggested by council. And the graphic designer proposed 2 options for the new logo, and they're presented in schedules 1 and 2. So I've pulled up schedule 1. This is the revised logo that's based more on the logo that you chose as option 1. And I've just made it a little larger here, so I'll give you some time to look that over. And the second logo that the graphic designer created was this one. There's the original, you can see, black, white version, and the color version. And again, here is the larger version of that. So what staff are asking council tonight is to, there's 4 options in the report. Choosing either option 1 or 2 as the official township logo. And moving forward, and staff would move forward with the graphic designer to create the brand guide and get that rolling. Or council can choose either option 1 or 2, and we can go again back to the graphic designer for another round of revisions. So once again, I'll just go back to logo 1, and yeah.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I guess shows why we go to the professionals, right? Council, what are your thoughts? Councillor Larmore.
Thank you, through the chair. I really like option 1 as it is.
Yeah. Councillor Bumstead.
Through the chair, yes, I concur with Councillor Larma. It's clean, it's neat. I like the color version. Yeah, it's quite nice.
Councillor Talbot.
I was just going, oh, sorry, through the chair. I was number 1.
Okay.
With my finger up.
Deputy Mayor.
I'll be different. I'll go with item 2, the refined color.
Anybody else? I like number 1 as well, just the way. That's number 2, right?
That's 2, yeah.
Yeah, that's got all the different things in it that would be really expensive to do. Yeah, I like number 1. Yeah, but you haven't given yours yet. You're abstaining? Okay, how many in favor? Now, I should say, we don't have to change. We could keep the existing if you want. But I think the reason we entered into this was to make it simpler to print, less costly, quickly recognizable, etc. So, all those in favor of number 1? There we go. So we have 5. So number 1 it is, Elizabeth. So Elizabeth, what's the next step then?
Thank you, Mayor Walker. So council can choose option A in the recommendations, which would be council approve revised logo 1 as the township's new corporate logo and direct staff to proceed with the final production and implementation.
Right.
Or we could go with option C if 1 is the consensus, which would be staff be directed to return revised logo 1 to the graphic designer for a second round of refinement, which will be brought back at the August council meeting.
No, I think we're good with 1. I meant, like, so what happens once we pick it? I imagine there will be a period of implementation that may take a while. So trucks, for example, when the new truck comes in and the new crest is there to be put on it. The flag, I guess, whenever do we want to have a date that we do the implementation by for, say, the flag or clothing, whatever?
Yes, so the idea would be to say we're going with option A. I'm gonna take that back to the graphic designer. She's going to create a brand guide for us to follow, so that staff will have that to follow. The anticipated timeline for myself would to have that back by September to kind of launch the new official logo, which would get launched. We would do kind of like a photo op opportunity with the winner of the contest, so the original logo. Who won that? I'll bring that up. There we go. To have that presentation. And then that's kind of when Tay would officially have their new logo. And the new logo would be this. But implementation would be on those larger assets slower, yes. If we see a truck driving around that we know is 5 years old, it's not going to have the new logo on it. But certain items can definitely be rolled out in September right away. New branding on our website, the new logo could be there. There is some budget to print new flags, say get a new step and repeat behind me here. Our e-signatures could go, a lot of digital assets could go right away in September. And then that would follow through as assets depreciated or were cycled out, then the new logo would be on those. Same with clothing, you could still wear the old logo on clothing, but when we purchase new clothing, the new logo would be on that.
Okay. Council, any concerns with that? Councillor LaChapelle, please.
Question for Elizabeth. What's the background? Is it going to be white? That's the only problem I have. I love that logo, but I hate the white background.
Could be any color.
So the purpose of having 3 different types of logos is just because, say you needed something that was a black background or say like a blue tablecloth, you wouldn't be able to put the full color logo on it because the blue T would disappear. So that's the whole point. But yes, the refined color logo would be used most often.
Okay.
But in the event that we did need that, that's why we have those 2 other versions.
That's what I was wondering. Thank you. I was just trying to get Mr. Norris's sunset in there.
Councillor Raymond.
Thank you. Through the chair, just going in a little different direction, can I just ask if all rights, title, and interest to the design are the property of Tay Township and there will be no comebacks down the road?
So in the rules of the contest, to submit your design, you had to say that the copyright would be sent over to Tay Township. It would be Tay Township would own that logo that you designed. So we own the logo. They signed the copyright release.
And
The
that's
logo is
adequate?
ours. Pardon me?
That will be adequate because we've changed what they've given us. So in the back door, they can come in and say, well, we sort of inspired their design, which you don't have an agreement with.
Staff could definitely look into that.
Please, thank you.
I think you'll find that that's okay from my experience in Midland.
Yeah.
Is that the copyright, if it's signed over, you're fine, or any version thereof. It's usually the way the copyright
Make
is
sure
worded.
it's just there first.
Yes, and thank you, Mayor Walker. In the contest rules, it did say that the township would have the right to amend and edit the logo. So, but again, I will definitely follow up with that.
Yeah, we'll check, just to be sure. Okay, with that said, I have a motion moved by Councillor Larmaw, seconded by Councillor Raymond, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
That CS 2026-058 dated July 22nd, 2026 regarding the township logo redevelopment, revised logo review and selection be received, and that council select and direct staff with the following. Option A, council approve revised logo 1 as the township's new corporate logo and direct staff to proceed with the final production and implementation. I have that moved by Councillor Larmaw and Councillor Raymond, as I mentioned. All in favor? That is carried. That brings us to 7.5. Chief Administrative Officer, Deputy Clerk, Strategic Plan 2022 to 2026 Annual Update. Madam CAO, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Walker. Council will recall that you do receive an annual report regarding the strategic plan that was approved by council and extended into this term. So this report before you just provides a highlight of the actions related to the various strategic goals of council that took place in the previous 2025.
Council, do we have any questions, concerns? Not seeing anything. I have a motion moved by Councillor Talbot and seconded by Councillor LaChapelle that item CS 2026-055, dated July 22nd, 2026, regarding the Strategic Plan 2022-2026 annual update be received. All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Delegation follow-up, nothing needed tonight on delegations. Correspondence, 9.1, we have a small petition, strong opposition to streetlight installation and environmental destruction on Sunset Court. Before I go to council, I want to make it very clear that this was not a staff-initiated project. I asked staff to look into it after I'd had 2 inquiries from residents on that street saying it was the only street in the area that did not have lights. So I did go over in the daytime. I also went over at night. I also went over and took I took some photos of what's referred to as environmental destruction. So what I would like council to do before we make a decision on that is if each of you could take the time to go over on the street, both in daylight, so you can see what's referred to as environmental destruction, and then also at night, just to see the darkness that the complainants were concerned about. And the location is right by the park entrance. Councillor LaChapelle, please.
Yeah, to add to it, I have visited the site, as you suggested. I concur with you, the light is at an interest for the safety component. I do support that. Also, I found there is, when the 5, I did some little research of the 5 that have submitted it, and 3 opposed. One of the 5 doesn't live on the street, lives in the backside, so there's no justification for them to have their name on it. Also, I found out one of the individuals doesn't live there anymore and rents his place out, and he signed it. He hasn't been in his place for almost 1.5 years to 2 years. So I kind of find the whole scenario, and I do support the idea of what you suggest. I don't think anybody went all the way. I think if we part in our policy, safety is an issue. So I do support the concept of what is there, and then if the rest of them want to have a look at it, but I'm very happy with there. I do not take the questions, like you're right about the trees, only a few, so whatever. That's my thoughts.
Is council okay with that? We'll bring it back. Deputy Mayor, go ahead, please.
Yeah, and I would suggest maybe we can get staff to throw their, if we do have a policy on street lighting, I'd like to see that, because from my recollection, there is a policy, and it's very specific. I concur. Open space, no question. However, not all open spaces actually have lights at this point. So that's where I'm at, but I agree.
You agree?
To go out and have a look.
Okay.
Followed up by a staff report, if there is a policy.
Yeah, okay, we can ask for staff report if there's a policy. It probably is with respect to new development, though. So anyway, good? Madam Clerk, you're good? So we'll put that as an item on our next meeting. Next, correspondence from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing to County of Simcoe Clerk Jonathan McGill. Letter of intent to appoint head of council. So council, I asked that this be put on just for your information that the province has decided that the appointment of the warden will not be that of county council, but they will be making that appointment. They had some ads out to have applications for the position that closed on July 13th. I suspect, to be fair, the province will probably make the announcement as to their decision on the warden prior to August 21st, which is the last date to submit applications, and that for council, because if there is someone being appointed that's currently serving on a council, that will give them the opportunity to withdraw if they have registered. Any questions? And I can tell you the county is really busy now because they've got all kinds of governance items to deal with. A report came out today for the governance committee that I still haven't gotten through. I'm not on it, but I found it interesting to read as to all of the things they have to decide on, who's going to sit on the committees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So lots of work to do there. The next one we have is correspondence, County of Simcoe Intimate Partner Violence Resolution. And that was pulled from our CIP dated July 13th, 2026 by Deputy Mayor Norris. Deputy Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship, and this was brought up on the county floor. We had a deputation from the CFUW. Basically, the county endorsed the recommendation, and they've sent it out to all the other municipalities to endorse it. And basically, it's going right across the province. I believe at this point within the report, there's 171 different municipalities supporting this. The big thing is it's declaring intimate partner violence as an epidemic. The federal government has recognized it. The province is but they've changed some of the the one word, and they're not calling it an epidemic. So I think what it does is it encourages all the municipalities within the county to recognize that PIV is a problem, and it is a big problem. It's been recognized by OPP. So I'm not sure if we have a resolution. But.
Well, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. But at the county, they weren't giving any stats to compare to years ago. And that's what kind of concerned me is how do we know, certainly it's happening out there, but how do we know that it's an epidemic? I sit on the police services board. I haven't seen any stats directly related to that. There have been stats with respect to assaults and so on. I'm just a little hesitant saying that we think it's an epidemic. Certainly I don't have a problem with the motion talking about the need for intimate partner violence to be reduced or stuff like that, but to say it's an epidemic, I'm not sure one way or the other. Councillor Larmo.
Thank you, through the chair. Having sat on the board of directors at Rosewood Shelter in Midland for 7 years, I can tell you that they've been at full capacity since COVID started, and that hasn't changed. They used to have women come and go, but they've been at full capacity and have had to seek out other places for women to be housed, because they're. I believe that it's an epidemic, absolutely.
So what percentage would you say it is? Then? Couldn't.
I don't know. I mean, I could get some statistics from the shelter, if you like, from the women's shelter.
Well, and that's, I guess, what I'm saying, is we're going to make a decision to call it epidemic without anything, and I don't doubt what you're saying, but I'm just a little hesitant. If council wants to pass it, I'm fine with that too. So, Deputy Mayor.
So just some stats that were provided by the OPP, and it goes back to 2022. There was 4,450 actual intimate partner violence cases. 2023, 5,051. 2024, 5,988. And I believe within the report, I believe there was 12,000 just in Simcoe County. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that's what I remembered. So.
Well, if you want to put a motion on the floor, put a motion on the floor.
Okay. I think the clerk has one.
Question first?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, in the resolution from County of Simcoe, It's asking the province to declare intimate partner violence as an epidemic. Have they not done that already officially? I thought they had.
They haven't used the terminology epidemic. They've used,
Okay.
I can't remember the wording on it.
So they haven't used epidemic as,
No. So the terminology they have said is they recognize it, but not as an epidemic.
thank you.
Clerk's got it.
Do you want to give a suggested motion? Give a suggested motion, or?
Clerk has it.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do you have a seconder? Okay. Do you want to read it, please?
Whereas more than 4 in 10 Canadian women have experienced some form of intimate partner violence in their lifetime, and 1 in 10 experience it almost daily, and whereas the Ontario Provincial Police have determined that in 2024 there was an 18% increase in intimate partner violence victims compared to the previous year, and whereas Simcoe County Violence Against Women agencies received 12,870 crisis calls in 2025, therefore be it resolved that the Township of Tay declares intimate partner violence an epidemic, and that this resolution be circulated to all municipalities in Ontario, MPP Jill Dunlop, and the Premier of Ontario.
Just on that, do you want it circulated to every province in Ontario?
I don't think we need that at this point. I think just back to the county and the province
And the Premier?
and the Premier, yeah. I don't think we have to circulate it to all of AMO.
Make it a little easier on you, Madam Clerk. Okay, all in favor? That is carried. Notice of motion, we have none. Council announcements. Who's got any announcements to make? Councilor Raymond.
Your worship, since I attended a bunch of them with you, I'll let you provide them. Thank you.
Spray did say that. I don't have it. Deputy Mayor.
Just quickly, I'm with Councilor Raymond. There was all kinds we did attend, but the one I did want to reach out to, and that was the Georgian Bay Hunters and Anglers for their fishing derby there. The number of little guys that were down, it was pretty remarkable to see them out on the wharf catching, and they were catching fish this year. And hats off to Patrick with SSCA. He's quite the measurer and weight, and he would be rhyming all these fish off. That blows me out of the way. I always called it a sunfish. No, he's calling it a red-tipped something or other, and I'm thinking good for him. So that's all I have.
Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to try to do this from memory. We went over pardon me? As Councillor Raymond said, we've had a lot of openings and reviews. I'm okay to proceed? Good? A whole bunch of openings and recognitions this past month. Port Barbershop celebrated 10 years. We went over to that. We also had Fin City, the new restaurant opening at White Heritage Marina, had the official opening and ribbon cutting for it. Highway 93 Bistro, opening for it on the weekend. And we had a 2-year celebration for Shanna's down the street by the Segbay. Segbay had that for them. And as Deputy Mayor mentioned, the fishing derby was a huge success. I never seen them catch so many fish as they were this year. And as Deputy Mayor mentioned, the chap in the SSE was naming all the names of these different fish, which amazed me. And he did tell us the difference between a largemouth and a smallmouth bass, which I never knew. So it was pretty good. The kids were really excited, and apparently their attendance was 100 and some that was there. So lots of stuff going on. I hope I didn't miss anything. So we have to go into closed session now, which will probably be a little while. So I have a resolution that reads that council retire to a closed session at 8:05 PM under authority of the Municipal Act, Section 239, Sub 2, Sub B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, CAO performance review, and Section 2, Sub C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and that's with respect to a potential land sale. And I have that moved by Councillor Bumstead and seconded by Deputy Mayor Norris. All in favor? Okay, welcome back, everyone. During our in-camera session, council received a confidential report regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and provided direction to staff accordingly. Also, we completed and discussed our annual CAO performance review and the compilation and of the comments and scoring from both council, CAO, and staff. And it was very, needless to say, very, very successful on the CAO's part. That brings us to bylaws. I have a motion that...
Your worship.
Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. We do have one open resolution following closed session that I can read for you related to item 13 or 12.2.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yep.
That the unopened road allowance legally described as part of lane PL 443 Tay abutting lot 11H 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, Plan 443, be stopped up, closed, declared surplus, and sold to the abutting property owners as identified within confidential item CS 2026-057.
Okay, mover and seconder, Councillor Raymond, Deputy Mayor Norris, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Now we can go to bylaws. That bylaw 2026-27 and 2026-30 be enacted as bylaws of the Township of Tay. And I have that moved by Deputy Mayor Norris and seconded by Councillor Talbot. All in favor? That's carried. Our confirming bylaw. That bylaw 2026-29 being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings of the July 22nd, 2026 regular council meeting be enacted as bylaw of the Township of Tay, and I have that moved by Councillor Bumstead and seconded by Councillor Talbot. All in favor? That's carried. And then we move to adjournment. I have a motion that reads that this regular council meeting adjourn at 8:48 p.m., and I have that moved by Councillor LaChapelle, seconded by Councillor Lerma. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, council. Thank you, staff. And we'll see you, I guess, in August sometime.